It is 10 o'clock. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica. The Titans dropped their third loss in the last 4 games on Sunday with a 19-13 final in Pittsburgh. Titans were able to run the football, rushing for over 200 yards, but turned it over 4 times.
Fumble the snap, did Tannehill. There's a fight at the bottom of the pile. The Steelers have it.
That drops the Titans to 9-5. Now third in the AFC as the Chiefs take the top spot in the conference. It's just a 1-game lead over the Colts at the top of the AFC South. The Buccaneers missed a chance to clinch the NFC South on Sunday Night Football, falling 9-0 to the Saints, missing several key players on offense in the process. It's just the third shutout of Tom Brady's NFL career, the first since 2006. It's a Monday Night Football doubleheader tonight. The Raiders-Browns game was moved from Saturday due to COVID. That is now a 4 p.m. kickoff this afternoon. And tonight in the NFC North, the 6-7 Vikings at the 4-9 Chicago Bears for Monday Night Football. Kickoff at 7:15. Westwood One coverage will be right here on The Zone. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Good morning. Welcome in on this Monday. Buck Reising here with you. Hope you're feeling a little bit better after sleeping off that terrible Titans loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers on the road yesterday. Now, things are a little different. It's a short week. So Mike Vrabel, instead of speaking at noon today, is holding his press conference right now. We're going to go live to it, then we'll come back. And I'll tell you everything that I saw and heard at Heinz Field yesterday while doing some reporting. So Mike Vrabel at the podium right now.
Nick is, talented. He plays extremely hard. He's got great balance, quickness, very good against the run, against the pass. Armstead, great length inside, unique. Jones has been really coming on as a interior player. And so this is, it's a very attacking, penetrating front. Which we'll have to try to be able to handle.
Fast and physical. How do you do as far as carrying out his assignments, kind of knowing where to be?
Yeah, just for having a few days of practice, I think it's a good start. So we'll continue to try to work with Zach, and obviously focus on improving mentally. That'll be where everybody's trying to work on this week.
The fine line of corrections from yesterday, moving on. When you've lost 3 games essentially in the same manner over the last month, is there any concern of a confidence level of your guys still believing that they were the team that started 8-2 versus the one that struggled in a lot of a similar fashion over the last month?
Well, really just turning the ball over. I mean, unless you guys see something different, there's always things that we can correct, but really a lot of these things come down to our ability to take care of the football and finding ways to create turnovers. That's where defensively we have to go. We have to. I love the mindset of going out there and playing defense wherever you have to, even if it's on our side of the field, and they did that. But we got the one turnover there. Unfortunately, had the penalty that came along with it. So to me, it comes down to taking care of the football. I mean, that Captain Obvious, but that's really what it is, and. Trying to make sure that we're creating turnovers defensively. We're looking for opportunities to tip the football and catch it and hammer it out. Unfortunately, that's what Amani did, and it was an excellent play. It was what you guys see us practicing all the time. We just had an unfortunate penalty.
You guys preach ball security and practice it here. Is there anything more that you can do?
Understand that it's everybody's responsibility. To get as many guys near the ball, around the pile that you possibly can, taking care of it using fundamentals. When it's loose and you're in zone coverage, we know that everybody's taught to vice tackle. There's a guy coming inside, there's a guy coming outside. Understanding we're not reaching the ball at the goal line on those things, that if it's not fourth down or all those fundamentals that we preach and practice. But it's everybody's responsibility to take care of the football or the guy who has it, whether that's the quarterback in the pocket, a runner that's running with it, or a receiver. Everybody's job is to try to protect that guy, to protect the football.
You ran on 1st and 20, 3rd and 13, 1st and 20. Is that not a bit conservative?
Well, I think we can always go back and look at, we also, ran it and picked up first downs on 2nd and 9. We've thrown it. We missed some opportunities throwing the football. The play calls are always, the easiest thing to second guess. I'm a big proponent of, making sure that the guys understand what's being called, that we get it in there quickly, that everybody understands what the details are. I believe that. I believe in we've had success, throwing it on different downs. We've had success, running it. We just have to continue to take care of the football. And, first of all, try to stay out of, some of those 1st and 20s and long yardage situations. Just felt good on some of those, the one 3rd down, you get them in some coverage looks and you get them moving around, and, maybe you miss maybe make a guy miss and pick up a first down, as opposed to trying to, throw it into a bunch of coverage or whatever it may be. So, there's a lot of different things that we're going to try to do to continue to move the football, score. We got to score touchdowns in the red zone. We got to take care of the football.
You're not surprised that the penalty was thrown on Jeffrey, and what could he do there?
Everything that we've coached our guys, and then the understanding from the NFL is that it is the defender's responsibility to not avoid, to avoid contact below the knees and above the shoulders when the quarterback's in the pocket, whether you're stumbling, whether they're blocking you. And so we tell them that you have to try to swipe, and nobody's just playing harder for us than Jeff each and every down. And he knows that, and he just has to avoid making contact with his helmet or his shoulder, below the knee. It's try to just swipe, at the guy's ankle, and that's what the rules are. We know what it is, and that's kind of where we're at.
You've got a quick assessment week. Do you think AJ's got a chance?
And we'll see where everybody is today. These guys are, filing in here today. Hopefully the guys that weren't able to play can help us this week in some capacity, and the guys that are eligible to return from IR, we can make a decision on them.
Is this like a Wednesday already this afternoon, then tomorrow split between Thursday, Friday? What's the schedule? And you guys have had some success in these odd weeks, whether it's more or less rest. What's the key to that?
Just trying to get these guys to prepare. We have to focus on today. We can't really, worry a whole lot about yesterday. I hope that would have been the case had we won. Unfortunately, we lost. And, we have to focus on today, which is going to be, 1st and 2nd down. Just like you said, it's going to be like a Wednesday. I think it's important that we do something to break a sweat. Guys played extremely hard for us, and guys played a lot of snaps like they always do, but trying to break some sort of sweat, not running around, but obviously just in the weight room, trying to get some sort of conditioning or cardio in where they break a sweat, can get into a meeting, can lock in, and then we can have a walkthrough.
Wide receivers have to be good blockers in order for them to play. Is Golden Tate able to help you in that regard, or is that?
Well, I hope they all can help us in that regard.
I guess especially with Julio's injuries, any more likely you think that Golden might get?
I think that what we tell them, John, is that everybody that'll be in that meeting today should be expected to play in the football game.
Julio may have tweaked something when he was diving for that fumble that Ferkser had. Did he stay in and try to gut it out a little bit? And what was the process of kind of managing him and seeing where he was before ultimately pulling him out?
I think just trying to be conscious of where he is, conditioning level-wise, and kind of where we need him. And then, going forward, we'll evaluate where he is and see how he can help us on Thursday. Thank you.
Sorry.
Quick one today for Mike Vrabel. I mean, there's a lot to break down. Welcome back. Buck Reising here with you until 1 o'clock. Mike Vrabel started our show off with his press conference because it's a short week. There's really not a lot of time to process what just happened in Pittsburgh for the Titans. But lucky for us, we've got at least 2 hours and 50 minutes to do so. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what happened in this game and what the most frustrating part of watching this team in the last 4 games has been. Now, the obvious answer, as you just heard the head coach say, is turnovers, of course. But there is layers to this that we're going to get into. And, of course, we want your reaction on this Monday. 615-737-1045 is the number. 615-737-1045. What did you hear from Mike Vrabel that you liked, that you agreed with? How do you feel about Julio Jones? Because I know that is going to be a hot topic throughout the course of this week leading up until Thursday to see whether he's able to go or not. A.J. Brown as well. And frankly, what frustrated you most about yesterday's game? 615-737-1045. When we come back, we're going to talk about all of these things. You're going to hear from some of the players who were involved. I'm fresh off the plane from Pittsburgh, and we got a lot to get into over the next couple of hours, so we're happy to be here with you to do it. I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone. All right. Monday. A little stressful, I guess. More stressful than that game because you know what lies ahead, or maybe you don't have enough time to think about what happened against the Pittsburgh Steelers because San Francisco will be here in not so long at all. They're currently talking about the Titans and the Steelers on First Take right now. 19-13, the final score. The Steelers, they were not a good football team. They are not a good football team. But the biggest problem is the Titans aren't a very good football team right now either. There are parts of them that are great. Does this sound familiar? Rings a lot like last year, doesn't it? Except the roles have been reversed. This Titans defense played as well as humanly possible yesterday. That has to be so incredibly frustrating. And in fact, you're going to hear a clip from Kevin Byard about how incredibly frustrated he was. Because time after time, that defense was dropped onto the field in bad position and found ways to hold Ben Roethlisberger to field goals. Now, Ben doing a lot of that himself because they have their own issues on the offensive side of the football. That's the fourth straight game that they have been shut out or that they have not scored a touchdown in the first half. Ben Roethlisberger and the Pittsburgh Steelers with that collection of skill position players. That should not be. They've got their own issues. But right now, the Titans' issues are bigger. The Titans' issues are those of self-inflicted wounds, and this is no different than Houston or playing at New England before the bye. Jacksonville, you got on the right side of the turnover differential. Trevor Lawrence handed you 4 interceptions, and you won a game 20-0. But this one, again, there's been 3 of these 5 losses now where they've had the opportunity to close things out at the end, but they just keep tripping over themselves. And at this point, like we've broken this down a million different ways, right? We've looked at all the different elements of what about the Titans isn't working right now. We know that the foundation of those issues starts with injury. But there's stuff that was problematic even before the injury started that's starting to pop up again in these games to where you simply can't overcome. Because yesterday it wasn't just the injuries. Ryan Tannehill's getting the holy hell knocked out of him again. He's the second most sacked quarterback in football this year behind Joe Burrow. This is a dude who, really since the Arizona game has been under duress. And he has found ways to get rid of the football quicker, but it's just not enough. Like there's only so much that he can do. Think about this, okay? The first damn play of the game for the Titans, rather not the first play of the game, but the first play of their first offensive series because they won the toss and deferred. Pittsburgh started on offense and the defense held serve. First play, 1st and 10. They're getting ready to throw a bomb down the field to Julio Jones. He's streaking down the sideline. He's got his man beat. He's open. And Tannehill is buried for an 8-yard loss because the running back misses the blocking assignment. Aaron Brewer, who's dealing with a toe injury, can't hold up because Roger Saffold's out dealing with neck stuff, nerve stuff for basically the entire season instead of a touchdown to Julio Jones, completely reshaping the narrative about this game today. It's a sack for a loss of 8, and you are pulling your hair out at the seams. The biggest issue for me, the biggest frustration for me watching this team is that for all of the things that have happened for this football team, especially with the loss of their most important offensive player, Derrick Henry, they have found ways to effectively move the football. Offense wasn't a problem. There is only one statistical category, one major statistical category that I would point out to you that the Titans weren't as good as the Steelers were. Now, it's an important one, red zone. Titans were 1 of 4 in the red zone. Steelers were 1 of 3. But everywhere else, in terms of almost doubling them up in terms of time of possession, almost doubling them up in terms of total net yardage, and having, again, over 200 rushing yards, holding your opponent to net 168. Do you know how hard it is to lose that football game? And, of course, the way that you do it is 4 damn turnovers. 13 in their last 4 games. They have given the ball away 13 times. They have taken the ball away 4 times. All 13 of those giveaways came in losses. All 4 of those takeaways by the Titans came against Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jags. They are 1-3 in those games. It is a nightmare scenario because they did the thing that you wanted them to do. They figured out life without Derrick Henry, running the football. They haven't had to change too much of what it is that they are because they're doing that part of it. It's just that there's so many other things. They basically have to play a perfect game elsewhere to stay in these things because if not, they go nuclear. It's not just 1 fumble, it's 3. It's not just 1 tip drill interception. It turns into 4 turnovers. It's insane the way that these mistakes snowball on them so quickly to where it just becomes this avalanche that swallows you up at the end of the game that you only lost by 6, by the way. And yet there was zero confidence. I don't know what, I'm not in their huddle. I don't know what it's like on the field. I don't know what it's like to be with them on the sideline. All I know that sitting in the press box, I imagine that I had the same feeling as any of you who traveled to Pittsburgh to watch that game, or whether you were sitting in a bar, sitting at home with your family, watching this thing play out. You had zero confidence that with plenty of time remaining in the fourth quarter, that the Titans down 6 would be able to march down the field and score a touchdown. Next to none. And that is such a far departure from the team that we watched just a calendar year ago. 615-737-1045 is the number. 615-737-1045. What's the most frustrating part of the way that the Titans are losing right now to you? Because I know there's been a lot of criticism, a lot of fingers pointed, from fans. Internally, I think they're handling this as well as humanly possible. I mean, you hear Mike Vrabel kind of shrug it off in his press conference. He's like, yeah, we're turning the ball over. Other than that, it's not different. And that's what drives you crazy. He's right. It's just the turnovers. They're averaging 135.17 rushing yards per game. That's not quite Derrick Henry, but it's close. It's as close as you could ask for it to be. And then everything else going wrong around them, and an offensive line that was already questionable at best and hasn't started and finished a full game together with that starting 5 all year long. There's just no margin for error for them right now. Listen to Kevin Byard talk about it, because the margin for error happened to be a couple of penalties. And listen, the rest were not the reason that the Titans lost that game yesterday. But there was plenty of bad calls on both sides, by the way. But the most bad calls happening on the one Steelers touchdown drive that was carried largely by penalty. I asked Kevin Byard what he thought about the defensive pass interference on Christian Fulton in the end zone that gave Roethlisberger first and goal from the 1. Listen to what Kevin Byard had to say, because he's not wrong.
Majority, I don't know if I'll get final with it, but I think the majority of the calls in this game was complete BS. I think the pass interference on Buster, I think he was turning around playing the ball. They were just hand fighting. I think even the hit on Christian, I don't think it was a dirty play. I think he was trying to make a play on the ball and just lost the ball out. Unfortunately, the guy got hurt. And also the pass interference in the end zone. So the one drive, fueled by penalties, they got a touchdown. But the rest of the game, I really felt like the defense was flying around, playing with speed. So I told all the guys when it was QB kneeling, I'm really proud of the effort the defense played with today.
He should be. He should be. And yes, Kevin, unfortunately, you are going to get fined. And it's a shame that it'll cost you money for speaking truth in that regard. And listen, there were missed calls on the Steelers too. It wasn't just like it was slanted against Tennessee as far as the officiating was concerned. I thought there was a missed roughing the passer on Naquan Jones. I thought that the Jeff Simmons call for roughing the passer, as ugly and as horrible as that rule in and of itself is, it's the right call on a trash rule. So by the letter of the law, they got it right. It doesn't make it a good rule, makes it the right call. There was plenty of stuff on both sides that you looked at, and the way that they botched the end of that game, for God's sakes, with how how mismanaged the end of that game was from the spot that they marked Nick Westbrook-Akina down, basically saying that saying that he had converted on third down when he was clearly, from our vantage point, in the press box, a yard and a half short. Then they go to correct the spot and measure the spot, and they're measuring the incorrect spot because the refs have botched the ending of it. Like, it's just a nightmare scenario, on top of the fact that your football team, is moving the ball from 20 to 20. And then things go catastrophically wrong. And the red zone efficiency is just evaporated. And the turnovers are coming in bunches, not one, but like 3 or 4, hell, 5 against the Texans. And the issues, it's not solvable by any one thing. The turnovers would help. Monumentally, they would help. And taking the ball away in a game when you are hemorrhaging turnovers would also help. That's been another interesting part of this. Against Trevor Lawrence, they were feasting. In the other 3 games, they can't get a turnover. Inexplicable to me. But the defense, I don't know how much more they can do. The offense, man, it's just not good enough. Let's go to Carl in Nashville, who wants to weigh in on this Monday. Hello, Carl.
Hey, Buck, how you doing?
Great, buddy.
So my thing is that I was watching the game yesterday at home, and it was so frustrating. I know you talked about how we're running the ball and we're moving the ball and everything, but it's just it doesn't. I know we don't have the same people as we did before with AJ out and Julio being basically a non-factor the whole entire game, but like our offense just seems, from my perspective, anemic. We don't have any big plays. When we get in the red zone, we don't punch it in, and it's just frustrating. And like you said, confidence-wise, I'm standing up, walking around my living room like, all right, come on, let's go, let's get this, and we fall short. It's not the first time it's happened,
Well,
and
Carl, stick with me on this because, one, Nick Westbrook-Akina, that was a big play. He dropped it. Ryan Tannehill overthrew it. Hit him in the fingertips. Nick Westbrook-Akina has to catch that ball. And on the first play, their first offensive play, right? They had the touchdown to Julio, and he gets sacked for 8 yards. Like, it goes wrong. It's one thing that just completely collapses, and then everything spirals. Am I wrong?
Not wrong. You're absolutely correct. But so here's one point that you kind of talked about earlier, but I just want to touch on a little bit more. You said Ryan Tannehill's got second most sacked quarterback in the league. So do you know, or can you look up who on the offensive line is hurting us so bad? Is it one person? Is it all 5? Is it 2 people? I see it. I'm like, goodness gracious, can we get more than 1.5 seconds to throw the ball to more than 3 yards down the field? And that's where my frustration comes from. And again, when AJ's in and stuff like that, we do the play action, and for a slant, and he goes 25 yards on the slant after he catches the ball. We can't do that with these people, except maybe once or twice with NWI. So that's kind of my frustration and whatnot. Because here's the deal: if we win that game and we win out, we're first place, and we get a bye week, which is going to help us even get healthier. And we couldn't hold on to a 13-point lead in the third quarter.
No, and now you're sweating. Thanks for the call, Carl. But now you're sweating because the Colts did you a solid beating the Patriots, and now it doesn't look like a solid anymore. Now they're breathing on your neck at 8-6. Here's he asked me for the pressure numbers, and I've got them from yesterday's game. Well, I don't have them. I'm looking at Zach Lyon's Twitter feed at FWordsPod, but he gets these numbers from Pro Football Focus. Zach does a good job of putting this information out there after every game. Here he tweets this. Here's how the allowed pressures by the Titans offensive line shakes out. Lawan 0, Brewer 2 sacks, 1 hurry, Jones 1 hurry, Nate Davis 1 sack, 1 hurry, Quessenberry 2 sacks, 1 quarterback hit, 5 hurries. And what he puts after he gives the pressure sacks for the pressure stats for each of the offensive linemen, he writes, Tannehill wasn't responsible for any of the pressures he faced yesterday. I don't know what more you can do, because I think my feeling on this, and this is an off-season situation. Right now, they need a fix because I'm watching them. I'm watching them right now. I'm watching Ryan Clark and Dan Orlovsky talk about, can the Colts win the AFC? Oh, God. Can you imagine? That would be nearly improbable. But the Titans, man, this is a lead with a sweep over the Colts that they are teetering. They are teetering because I don't feel good about the Niners game on a short week. Are you kidding me? I don't feel good. The Dolphins have won 7 in a row. No, not 7 in a row. Forgive me. They've won 6 in a row. But still, Miami has won 6 in a row and they're playing good defense. And you lost to Houston earlier in the year. Like, I don't know what you do other than just pray to God that A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry make this much of a difference. But frankly, the offensive line, that's the root of all evil at this point. After injuries, the offensive line is where you look and be like, my God, they cannot hold up for him in pass protection. It has to drive you mad. David in Donaldson is next on 104.5 The Zone. Good morning, David.
Great analysis. Appreciate all your hard work. I'm a University of Pittsburgh fan, so my feed of Twitter is filled with Pittsburgh sports writers, and many of them were saying, the Titans probably win if they just ran the ball every play.
Oh, they're right.
Yes, and I thought I love you. I agree with your turnovers. The 3rd and 3, the pass to McMath, maybe run that. Maybe run it twice. There was 2 drives at the beginning before the turnover started in the second half. They got a couple good runs. They got a first down. They went to pass. Look, I don't trust Nick Hollister. I don't even know if I'm correct his name's right. I don't trust him on a deep ball. I mean, I know
they threw one to him. They threw one to Cody Hollister.
That was a 1st and 10 after a couple first drives. They got to go to 2nd and 10, pass -4. I'm just saying that perhaps I know that. Todd Downing is not – he's not great. Tannehill's not been great. The injuries are the biggest problem. I'm frustrated by that game because I felt like we had a chance here with a crappy offense and also a crappy Pittsburgh offensive line, I should say, to win this game. Kind of like how the Patriots won that game at Buffalo. Just run the ball. Maybe we get a field goal. I really feel like – and I'll be at the game cheering – I think without Jones or Brown, they may not win that game. It's more important than Henry because at least when Jones was out there, they had to cover him and it opened up these little 3-4 yard passes to the running backs in the first half. That's really the season. Is can Brown and Jones play?
They weren't there in the second half. Thank you for the call, David. And listen, let me put it this way because I understand that today, they have had some terrible losses. They have had some bad losses this season, whether it's getting skunked in the opener at hosting Arizona or losing to the Jets and the Texans, or this game where you look at it and say, just even 3 turnovers as opposed to 4. My God, you're still in it. They have won. They beat the Colts in Nashville earlier in the season to put the Colts down 0-3. The Titans were -3 as far as turnover differential, and they won that game. If they even have like 11 turnovers in this 4-game stretch as opposed to 13, they're probably in a much better position. But of course you can't do the analysis that way because they have 13 in their last 4. And because they come in bunches in ways that you can't explain other than, I don't blame Ryan. And I asked Mike Vrabel last night if he thought Ryan Tannehill was pressing, and he said that wasn't his observation. He said it's just we have to take better care of the football. But like when we talked to Tannehill last night, Lucas, I don't know if you have this. When we talked to Tannehill last night about the botched snap, about the fumble, right? Ryan Tannehill, listen to Tannehill talk about this because, it's a completely, I understand exactly what he's saying to me. And also, I'm looking at him and being like, man, how can you not be just stressed every time you take the field with this offense right now?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what happened there. It's wild. I don't know how many snaps I've taken with Ben over the last 3 years. I don't think we've ever had one on the ground in practice or anything. It's a sick feeling, and for whatever reason, I didn't get a handle on it. Not something I'm worried about moving forward, but just terrible timing for something like that to come up.
So that's Tannehill talking about it, And he's right. That's never happened to Ryan Tannehill and Ben Jones before. He's had backup, like when Aaron Brewer comes in against the Jets and snaps it over his head. Like he's had those moments with backup offensive linemen, but never with Ben, right? And now even that is the most, that is the most reliable thing. Quarterback center exchange. That is the fundamental starting point for every offensive play in football. Quarterback center exchange. And even that got botched last night. And that was the nail in the coffin, right? That's the fourth. That's the turnover that just blows you up. And there's so many different ways to look at this and say, can it just come down to them being hugely unlucky right now? I know that's not analysis anybody wants to hear, but what other than poor offensive line play, poor injury luck, and everything else falling to pieces as a result of it, what else can you say? I don't think that AJ and Derek change this monumentally. Like it's going to look better if they get any of those three guys back. And we don't know what the prognosis is going to be on Julio Jones. Him being ruled out in the second half of that game, even the checkdowns were gone in the second half, right? Because the threat of, I understand that the lack of targets for Julio drives you insane, but the threat of him at least lets you check it down to the running backs and keep the chains moving. That was not there in the second half. And you know when Julio Jones hurt himself? He hurt himself on Anthony Ferkser's fumble. The one that started it all. The one that you just felt in your soul that, oh my God, they're going to do it again. And that's exactly what they did. When we come back, we're going to continue to take your calls on this game. The Steelers beating the Titans in Pittsburgh on Sunday and what it means for the AFC. We're going to be joined by former Titans and Steelers wide receiver Nate Washington. He's going to be here at 11:20, and we'll get into it more at length. Your phone calls and more reaction coming up next. Why the Titans are driving you absolutely insane right now with the way that they lose on 104.5 The Zone. It's Christmas week, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, has a gift that'll certainly put you in the holiday spirit. New customers can bet just $5 on any NBA team and win $150 in free bets if they're victorious. It's a great way to put some extra jingle in your pocket. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code WGFX. Bet just $5 on any NBA team and win $150 in free bets if they're victorious. That's promo code WGFX this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee to bet. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789.
Tannehill takes the snap, looks, throws Paul Bennett in the air and intercepted. Loudermilk. Correction, Schobert, 50, 40, 30, and he's finally tackled. Tip ball at the line of scrimmage, and the Steelers are able to make the big play with the veteran Joe Schobert and his 10th career interception.
It's Mike Keith on the call. Yesterday at Heinz Field, Buck Reising back with you until 1 o'clock. Titans fall to the Steelers 19-13. We're talking about it and taking your reaction. 615-737-1045. Ryan Tannehill's 14th interception on the season. He did tie a career high with his 7th rushing touchdown of the year. He had 7 rushing touchdowns last year as well. The difference is Ryan Tannehill had 33, finished the regular season last year with 33 passing touchdowns. This year, he is 14-14 touchdown to interception ratio, 1-to-1. It's tough scene right now. And it's not, I saw Mike Miracles put together a thread of where each of the last 13 turnovers have come from, because there have been that many of them in these 4 games, 1-3, the Titans record. And this is what drives you crazy. They had, after week 9, after that Sunday night football game against the Rams, right? That's the first game without Derrick Henry. And they went into Los Angeles and they kicked Matt Stafford and Aaron Donald's ass. And you're sitting there watching that, or at least I was at SoFi, and being like, oh my God, are they like this much better? I mean, the Rams look softer than Charmin at this point, and they still might be. But I thought, oh my God, they're going to be able to survive this. And then especially when you looked at the way that any website, whether it be ESPN or Sharp Football Analysis or all of these different places that measure strength of schedule, when you looked and you saw that the Titans were literally 32 out of 32 in remaining strength of schedule after week 9. They had the easiest path based on opponent win percentage. And instead, they have been 2-3 in those games and really struggled as far as just playing clean, mistake-free football, because that's the biggest difference. I'm shocked that we've made it 48 minutes into the radio show today, and we haven't even talked about Julio Jones, which is going to be a situation in and of itself. And then I've got some good information about A.J. Brown and what his availability might or might not be for Thursday Night Football against the San Francisco 49ers. But we go back and we take your reaction this morning on 104.5 The Zone. We got Phil in Clarksville who's up next. What's up, Phil?
Hey, good morning, Buck. The week of the Texans games, you kind of dedicated a whole show to defending Ryan Tannehill. And I was in 100% agreement with you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you'd cut off here. I apologize.
No, I'm right there.
I'm still right there. I still believe, everything that you said that day I agreed with. Just not sure what Titan fans expect from Tannehill or Todd Downing when you're playing with 75% of your offense is practice squad guys.
Yeah.
I mean, you're skilled players. It's I don't think any one of our tight ends could go start for another NFL team, and then we're throwing to Cody Hollister.
Oh my God, Phil, the Ferkser fumble! Like I wanted to slam my head on the console in the press box for Tannehill on that fumble.
It's beyond horrible what he's being forced to play with, and I can't imagine being in that guy's shoes. If I had to work with colleagues that he's having to work with and survive, I would have been fired, Lord knows when. So I hate seeing it. It's one of them things. We finally got a defense that we can depend on, and probably the most explosive offense in the NFL. Week 1 is now the worst offense in the NFL. And it's just sickening to hear all these people blame Downing and Tannehill for this.
It happens fast. Listen, Phil, here's the thing, right? 9 times out of 10, the healthiest team is going to win the Super Bowl. Like, it's just, I hate to boil it down to such basic analysis because we've got a lot more football to talk about, And listen, I don't think that the world is ending, even if it feels like it. If it felt like it yesterday, or if it feels like it today. I don't think that they're dead in the water just yet. I just think that they are dangerously close. Now, they have survived imminent danger before. I do not underestimate Ryan Tannehill. I do not underestimate Mike Vrabel. I think the world of what this defense is doing right now. I really do. I think Jeff Simmons and Danico Autry and Harold Landry and Bud Dupree, who tackled half of the Steelers' offense en route to sacking Ben Roethlisberger yesterday. Like, this defense is special, can be special, can continue to be special. And I think the offense is completely capable of it. But one, the protection of the quarterback is egregious. It's just bad. It's just bad. And Dylan Radins, my God, how bad must you be? I saw people screaming on social media yesterday about Julio Jones being the biggest waste of a second-round pick that ever there was or will be, right? And I'm sitting there thinking, like, I don't know if that's true, and I don't know if Dylan Radins is that. But I'm looking at Dylan Radins, who dressed for that game because Roger Saffold's out and the offensive line has injury issues of their own. And I'm watching, the guy they drafted to play right tackle, David Quessenberry, is starting over him and giving up let me go through the pressure stats specifically again. For Quessenberry, 2 sacks, 1 quarterback hit, 5 hurries. I like David. David's a rock-solid player. He's got a fantastic story. He has been dummied the last 2 weeks. He just is. How bad must Dylan Radins be? So don't talk to me about wasted second-round picks on Julio Jones. You got rookies that can't contribute. Again, there's so many reasons why it looks like this. And for people to pin it on just solely Ryan Tannehill or solely Todd Downing is to do the same thing that happened last year with the defense, where, of course, it's not just Shane Bowen's fault, but he's the one who talks on Thursdays about the defense. So that is who you associate the most with the defense. That's the guy, right? Fire Shane Bowen, and now he's got one of the best defenses in football. I don't understand why it has to be extremes, why it has to be one party is to blame. What I'm looking for is solutions to the problem on the whole. And the biggest solution is stop coughing up the damn football. That's it. I don't know if it's going to look like 20-0 against Jacksonville every week, but damn sure you could have beat the Steelers with 20 points. God bless. It's one thing. With all the bad that's happened to them, it's one thing. That's what drives you the most insane about this. It's entirely preventable. Ricky in West End is next. Hello, Ricky.
Hey, Buck. So, a lot of stuff I agree with. I think the biggest annoyance, and it's been this way for a couple of years, is stop drafting and taking free agents with an injury, coming off an injury, because that is just the start of the waterfall. But my call is more about the playoffs and kind of I'm a Titans fan. You know, I live here. I cheer for the team when they're not playing the Dolphins, but I'm a bigger fan of chaos. And there is a realistic route where the Titans get bounced out of the playoffs.
Oh, Ricky.
I'm going to tell you it.
All right.
6 weeks ago, you would have thought playing the 49ers and Dolphins was like, okay, easy wins.
Mm-hmm.
Those two teams now are 11-1 over the last 6 weeks.
Correct.
Yeah, so that's pretty brutal. And then if you looked at the Colts schedule, who were playing the Cardinals and the Raiders, obviously the Cardinals were like top of the hill, and then the Raiders are kind of on and off. They can implode, but that can also be a good team. So it's like, okay, the Colts have two hard games right there, and then they both finish with scrubs with the Texans and Jaguars. Well, now the Colts get to play the Cardinals, who are imploding, and the Raiders, who it just doesn't even know who's going to show up. They could win, they could lose. So the Colts could win those 2 games, and the Titans could lose their next 2 pretty easily, especially with a quick turnaround against the 49ers. So you have those 2 games. So now you're going into it where you have to have the Colts lose to the Texans, I want to say who it is. It might be the Jags. I think it might be the Texans. One of those 2 teams. They have to lose one of those teams. I don't think anybody's feeling good because those 2 teams, either one of those teams think about going home. And the Titans play the Jaguars, the Texans, and they should win that game. So they would finish 10-7. and the Colts would finish 11 and something. They would now take the division top. Then if you go through all the tiebreakers at 10-7, and you got to give NFL schedule makers credit here, this whole next 3 weeks, pretty much all the teams in the AFC who are within that 10 to 11 wins are playing each other. And all the tiebreakers would go against the Titans for some reason. I don't know why, but they would be out, especially because if they lost head-to-head to the Dolphins, who could be 10-7. And even with the extra playoff spot, they would be out.
Oh, God. Can you imagine? I mean, the internet would melt down. Thanks for the call, Ricky. He wants the world to burn. That is what Ricky and West End just presented. It was kind of like me watching that Colts-Patriots game Saturday night, because the NFL's just shilling for Jonathan Taylor as the MVP at this point. And I want to think it's not just because the Colts are the in-season Hard Knocks team and the NFL's trying to put more eyes on something that I haven't talked to anybody who's actually watching that, because there's real football on. So why do I want to watch an inside, the locker room look at Carson Wentz and Jonathan Taylor? But like Ricky and West End, his scenario for the Titans missing the playoffs is like me wanting Jonathan Taylor to win MVP just to watch the internet burn. Like, this is chaos. I don't think it's going to happen that way, Ricky, but you don't feel great about it. So when we come back, we're going to talk about what the AFC playoff picture looks like right now. Don't forget, former Titans and Steelers wide receiver Nate Washington is going to join us at 11:20. We got plenty more phone calls to take, so stick around. I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
It is 11:03. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica. The Titans dropped their third loss in the last 4 games on Sunday, a 19-13 final in Pittsburgh. They were able to run the football, rushing for over 200 yards, but turned it over 4 different times.
Tannehill looking, hit as he throws, but got it complete. Firkser, who fumbled the football, and the Steelers have recovered it at the Titans' 37-yard line. Fitzpatrick recovered it.
That drops the Titans to 9-5, now third in the AFC as the Chiefs take the number 1 seed. It's now just a 1-game lead over the Colts at the top of the AFC South. The Buccaneers missed a chance to clinch the NFC South on Sunday Night Football, falling 9-0 to the Saints, losing several key players on offense in the process. It's only the 3rd shutout of Tom Brady's NFL career and the first since 2006. Bucs wide receiver Chris Godwin has now been ruled out for the season. It's a Monday Night Football doubleheader tonight. The Raiders-Browns game was pushed from Saturday due to COVID. Browns missing 11 starters due to COVID. That's now a 4 p.m. kickoff this afternoon. And tonight in the NFC North, Vikings at Bears for Monday Night Football. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Man, we're back on this Monday, fresh off the plane from Pittsburgh, talking about this Titans and Steelers game here on 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back. If you've been with us for an hour already, or if you're just jumping in your car, or tuning in on the Zone app, or watching us on Zone TV, we're happy to have you on this Monday, even if you may not necessarily be happy to be here. Titans taking a difficult, ugly, tough way to lose on the road in Pittsburgh yesterday afternoon, and we've been spending our morning talking about it. That is topic A certainly for today, but I'm also seeing, and we'll get back to the phone calls. I know a lot of people are passionate about this. 615-737-1045 is the number. Former Titans and Steelers wide receiver Nate Washington going to join us to talk about this game, and Julio Jones, frankly, coming up next. I'm going to be curious to see what Nate thinks about the veteran wide receiver experience on a second team when, it's pretty clear a guy's past his prime. But at this point, we'll do this later on in the show because this was before the Titans went nuclear. This was the biggest story locally of the weekend. I was in the air on my way to Pittsburgh when Memphis and Tennessee canceled that basketball game at Nissan Stadium, and I'm seeing some quotes from Rick Barnes. We're going to have to play later on, Lucas, because I know you were going to that game, in between cat sitting for me, which I appreciate very much, by the way. Thank you for that. Let's go to William. He's in Las Vegas, and all it says on my call screener is William is pissed off. Hello, William.
Hey, yeah, thanks for taking my call, Buck. I've been a fan since 1978, and this is probably one of the maddest I've been since. But I'm going to push that aside real quick. I just want to ask you real quick. How come when the Titans get in the red zone, all of a sudden Todd Downing starts passing? Why don't he just continue to run? And besides that, also, I know a solution for the Titans: just keep running and do quick passes. And if it's not open, just have Tannehill just take off running. Why don't they just do that?
Well, I think you're trying. Thank you for the call, William. I think that you're not trying to run the quarterback too much, right? Like every time, does he not stress you all out so much every time Ryan Tannehill takes off with the football? I don't know. I feel like I've had this. I feel like I'm in reruns with this conversation. Like I feel like I've talked about Tannehill's unwillingness, it seems, to slide. And it's not like he's not an athlete. I have to think that he's capable of sliding and not, hurting himself worse than if he just gets hit. But my God, he stresses me out every time I watch him take off. And I tweeted out that he had a sack in the red zone because what William is saying there about them passing specifically more in the red zone, I will look at their drives. I haven't had the opportunity to break down the play calls inside the 20, but that's a good project, and I'll work on that later today, William, after I gotta take a nap. I've slept like 3 hours last night after I got home from Heinz Field doing primetime. But I would say to you that for the Todd Downing experience, I think that they're going to have to play a game at some point this year where they pull a Patriots against the Bills. They throw it 3 times and they run it. What was it, 46? I mean, they had the Steelers if they did it that way. Because Mike Vrabel, Lucas, I don't know if you've had time to turn around the clip from Mike Vrabel's press conference earlier about them running the ball on like 2nd and 18. I'm screaming at them. Why are you surrender running? That's what I've started to call it when they run on 2nd and 18 or 3rd and 12 or any of these second and long runs that they insist on doing. And Mike Vrabel's explanation of it honestly made me back off my position a little bit because I think he's right in what he's saying. This was the head coach earlier this morning.
Well, I mean, I think we can always go back and look at, we also, ran it and picked up first downs on 2nd and 9. We've thrown it. We missed some opportunities throwing the football. The play calls are always, the easiest thing to second guess. I'm a big proponent of, making sure that the guys understand what's being called, that we get it in there quickly, that everybody understands what the details are. I believe that. I believe in we've had success, throwing it on different downs. We've had success, running it. We just have to continue to take care of the football. And, first of all, try to stay out of, some of those 1st and 20s and long yardage situations. Just felt good on some of those, the one 3rd down, you get them in some coverage looks and you get them moving around and, maybe you miss maybe make a guy miss and pick up a first down, as opposed to trying to, throw it into a bunch of coverage or whatever it may be. So, there's a lot of different things that we're going to try to do to continue to move the football, score. We got to score touchdowns in the red zone. We got to take care of the football.
Mike's saying they're running on 2nd and long because they have to. Because the passing game isn't getting it done that much better. And they were fine on 3rd downs yesterday. They're 44.4%. They were fine. The Steelers were like 12.8. That was such a bad offensive football game. God almighty, was that tough to watch. And not just because the Titans, they make it so much harder on themselves, and that's something that Mike said last night. He's not wrong. The turnovers are doing that to themselves. But Ben wasn't able to move the ball at all. He threw a chest pass to Najee Harris that looked like one of those kids doing the Dr. Pepper challenge at halftime of one of the championship games. Did he not? And it just kind of like bounced in front of Najee Harris. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. And that's what beat you 19-13 yesterday because you couldn't score a point in the second half. Let's go to Dwayne, who's in Pittsburgh. He wants to talk about Tannehill. Hello, Dwayne.
Hello, Buck. Hey, this is a first-time caller. Hey, I've been a Titan fan for as long as they've been in existence. And I'm going to tell you something. Tannehill, he is one of the best athletes in the league at quarterback. He played quarterback when he was in college. He played receiver, when he was in college. And what I don't get about him, I watch him now when the games mean the most, and I'm talking previous playoff game or, big games, it seems like it's something in his mind that he just has to he has to stay in that pocket, and he knows that clock, you get that 3.5 second, whatever it is, and if it's not there, you got to take off. Now, I'm not saying take off and try to run anybody over. I'm talking about take off, get 3 or 4 yards, and slide. Just go down, run out of bounds. He's just as athletic as Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Mahomes, any other guys that are running around talent. He's just as athletic, but it seems like he just holds just that fraction too long before he can make that decisive decision. And I can't believe it. And then another thing, the Julio Jones, the first play of the game, he's wide open. the tackle gets beat, and the guard gets beat straight up the middle. The guy comes right up to 95 and sacks. I understand that's not his fault. But you're going to tell me you're paying this man, I don't know how many millions of dollars they gave him. And the game is on the line, and he's bigger than all the defensive backs for the Steelers. And you can't throw him the post for the 6 yards? Because he's the one that knows how to position his body. He's the one that supposedly is going to make the Hall of Fame, maybe.
Dwayne, come on. He's a bona fide Hall of Famer. Like, there's nothing about Julio Jones this year in Tennessee that's going to diminish he's a Pro Football Hall of Famer. There's no question about Julio Jones' career.
Okay, Buck, you're saying that, so why wouldn't you go to that man?
Because he's 32, he's got bad hamstrings, and he was out in the second half, Dwayne. He's not right. Like, they're drawing plays open for him. He's covered. They're checking it down to the running back. And you know what happened when he didn't play in the second half? The checkdowns weren't there because they didn't have to cover Julio Jones anymore. Like, it's don't do the analysis that way. That's flawed. And I appreciate the call, Dwayne. Thank you for being a first-time caller, even if we, happen to disagree in that regard. I didn't mean to bite your head off. But, let's not be a product of recency bias. Julio Jones, whatever you think of him right now, that is a Hall of Famer that you're watching. Just as Adrian Peterson is, even if he was washed here in Tennessee. There is no question about the resume of those two. But in their present forms, they cannot help you enough. So we'll talk about this with Nate Washington, former Titans and Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver. He's going to join us coming up next. We'll take more of your calls as well. I know there's some people passionate about the wide receiving core because we haven't even gotten just to Julio Jones yet. And I basically got a whole hour on that man alone. That's coming up next. I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back on this Monday. Buck Reising here with you until 1 o'clock. Looking forward to chatting with Nate Washington here in just a second. People have been passionate about this wide receiving core. I think that's what we're going to talk to Nate a lot about, is what does he make of these guys? And whether Ryan Tannehill is doing them justice or whether they are doing him a disservice by their inability to execute, which is basically what it looks like Jeff in Smyrna wants to call about. Good morning, Jeff.
Hey, how you doing? I'm a longtime fan of the show.
Thank you.
I love all the shows on here, but I'm kind of frustrated this morning because we get Golden Tate and we don't play him. What's the purpose of getting all these receivers and we don't play them?
Well, you're not getting all these receivers for no reason, Jeff. You're getting all of them because all your good ones got hurt, right? I mean, your frustration shouldn't be, why aren't they playing Golden Tate? If Golden Tate plays on Thursday, which, I mean, you may get what you're asking for, do not, here's what I'll say to you, because there's a real possibility that Golden Tate may have to play. And I say may have to play because that's not a good thing for your football team right now. This guy was inactive over Cody Hollister. I mean, Cody Hollister, Nick Whisper-Kekina, Chester Rogers, Racey McMath, who had the most inexplicable fumble I've ever seen in my life. My God. And I get what he was trying to do there to keep himself up, but just that imploded on him in 17 different ways. Golden Tate isn't playing because you have guys that are more equipped to handle the offense than Golden Tate right now. I don't think Golden Tate's doing anything wrong. I know Golden Tate's not doing anything wrong to not see the field. All I'm saying is if you see him out there Thursday and if he lets you down statistically, don't you dare drag Golden Tate because you've hyped him up based off his name. I won't have it. You know what I will have? I'll have our buddy Nate Washington, former Titans and Steelers wide receiver. My guy, what's up?
Buck, I love it. I love how you just said what you said about Golden. You're exactly right.
Why do we do this, Nate? I just want to punch myself in the face every time we have the Golden Tate conversation. I hate it.
Man, we are people of a right now moment. Whatever we think is going to heal the moment, we want it right now.
Oh, God. You know what I want right now? I want points, Nate. I want touchdowns. I want passing plays of 20-plus yards down the field. What the hell did you make of that game yesterday?
Oh, man. You know what? This is my main take I get from it, Buck. I think it's ironic that when we signed Ryan, there was such a huge asterisk, question mark, whatever you wanted to put by why we signed him. Along the years, he's done what was needed. I also played with a young star quarterback in Ben Roethlisberger, able to rely on the run game and still be efficient in the pass game. But now here it is. He's lost all of his weapons, every single one that was major to him. I mean, it's like losing both of your legs and your right arm doesn't work. You know what I'm saying right now?
Yeah.
With that being said, we're expecting him to be Superman. I get the same factor that I would love for him to take care of the ball better. Obviously, had some super hurtful turnovers, but at the same time, his turnovers are coming because he's pressing. He understands that if he doesn't play well, they have absolutely no chance. And with that being said, somebody has to step up and be more reliable than they've been, whether it's the offensive line and their protection, whether it's Deontay or McNichols running the ball, whether it's Westbrook-Akina being more reliable than he was this last game. And of all of those things, we cannot turn the ball over. You cannot win a ball game, especially on a road like that, having 4 or 5 turnovers. That just can't happen.
At NWash85 is where you follow the great Nate Washington. He joins us now on 104.5 The Zone. Nate, I think that the thing that drives you the most crazy, if you're especially in our audience, obviously a lot of Titans fans, majority Titans fans, watching a team that can't score points in the second half and lose. I mean, what do you make of Ben right now? watching him play that position, he passed Phillip Rivers for 5th all-time in the NFL, all-time leading passers. He's 5th on the list, and he did it on a throw that was 3 yards short on 3rd and 7, and it made me sad to watch him yesterday.
Well, you know what, man? I tell a lot of people ever since back when I played with them. It's crazy because you look along the list of quarterbacks that have been elite over the time and statistically in the top 10, and he is just not your prototypical quarterback. He's not your to hit his 3rd, 5th, 7th step release and it looks good. He's actually, with a lack of, elite speed, he's actually a playmaker, man. He's going to make plays.
He did
He's
yesterday.
Gonna make sure that no question, man. Every time he's going to make sure that play gets extended enough to find an open guy or put a ball in an area that he's trusting that his guy can make a play. It's going to happen every single time. And I think that's just what makes him special. Him passing Phillip Rivers, knowing how Phillip Rivers' game was, your Peyton Mannings, your other elite quarterbacks that are up there statistically, and knowing how those guys' game were, being smart guys, knowing where to go with the ball, great, efficient, accurate passers. But you look at a guy like Ben, being able to be elusive in the pocket and not have the Mike Vick speed or the Randall Cunningham agility. And, you can't deny him, man. Numbers-wise, he's up there, and he's been doing it for quite some time, man.
I'm still mad at him for that shovel pass that he threw to Najee, that he skipped in front of Najee Harris. Nate, I'm sitting there watching that like this is the Dr. Pepper challenge with a bunch of college kids trying to pay for their college tuition. What is that?
Man, you couldn't imagine how many times I come home and people literally ask me, like, did he draw that up in the dirt? You know what I'm saying? He's just that type of guy. Whatever it takes, man. If it's an overhand 40-yard bomb or an underhand shovel for a first down, he going to make it happen, man, every time. Unfortunately, like you said, being a Titan and seeing it happen against you, it pisses you off. Trust me, I did it. I think we played them 4 of the 6 years I was a Titan. And these guys will call me before games. The my Steelers brother, they would call me before games, talk to me after games, and every time I would be pissed just seeing some of the plays he would be making. But, being on that sideline and being a part of it, it's incredible, man.
No question. Listen, I got your boy Ramon Foster in here sending me gifs of all the Titans on the logo yesterday with crying Michael Jordan faces. Ramon was loving it yesterday with the Titans and the Steelers. Right. So the Julio Jones experience, Nate, obviously you know what's been happening here in Tennessee, how little he's been available, and what it's like to kind of go through your progression as a great wide receiver at that level and start to not be able to rely on your body. I mean, I don't your situation and Julio's are not entirely parallel, but you have a hell of a lot more experience being in that position than any of us. What are you kind of seeing from Julio, and what do you make of the experience here in Tennessee for him?
Right. Well, first of all, like you said, by no means, I think it has to be stated that, obviously with love and appreciation for what I did for myself, my career does not own up or compare to Julio's career, in the time that he spent.
Listen, Nate, not if you're listening to my callers today. I had some guy try to tell me he's not a Hall of Famer. I about lost it. I about lost my mind.
Emotions, man. There's emotions. That's exactly where I'm heading into, because when you see a guy like this signed to your roster as a fan, you're thinking to yourself, finally, we have a name, we have a guy that can make plays. And here it is, I think, week 15, 16 in the league and this year, and it hasn't happened. Not only has it not happened, he hasn't even been on the field healthy. And I think it just goes to state, I don't think it matters, or people, this is where my understanding comes in with dealing with the fan part of the game. And I understand as a fan, you want a guy that's going to, I don't care what his name is. I want him to come in, help my team. It would be lovely to have this Hall of Famer come in and do what he's done other places, but I want somebody that's going to help my team win. With respect to that, Julio's it's miles on his body. Not only just due to his early career in the NFL, but also what he's been able to do at Alabama. Those bigger receivers, they take a beating, you know what I mean? Not only just with the physical contact, but also with generating that type of energy at that size. With that being said, as a receiver that relies on a lot of start and stop, a lot of, shifty type of movements, man, your body, Father Time is undefeated. It doesn't matter. It's going to change. Your body is going to change. And no matter how much you change your diet, no matter how much you eat avocado ice cream, you still got to go out there and you got to perform, man. And a lot of times when you go out there and you have the right mentality, you've done everything health-wise, you go to all the rehab sessions, you get acupuncture, you start working with a new massage therapist, none of it matters. Your body is just ready to start shutting down. And I think that's just what we're seeing here with Julio Jones, unfortunately. We've seen a couple flashes of some great plays when he's been here, but obviously nobody's happy with the time or he's missed. But it's just inevitable. You got an older guy getting old, man. That's just how the game goes.
Yo, avocado ice cream put up a goose egg last night. You see that?
Man, did I see it? I was stunned. I couldn't believe it. It hasn't happened since 2006.
Nate, do you know who the coach of the Miami Dolphins was in 2006 when the last time Brady got shut out? Let's play some trivia.
Please stun me. Listen, I was already shocked. Please stun me, please. Right
Listen
now,
to me. Nick Saban was the coach of the Miami Dolphins the last time Tom Brady got shut out. Joey Harrington outdueled Tom Brady in 2006, 21-0 the last time that Brady got shut out. And you know why he looked so mortal last night, Nate? Because his wide receivers weren't out there, and his running back wasn't out there, and he still got Rob Gronkowski, Frankenstein monster, running through the Saints secondary trying to make a play.
Hey, there is no such thing as superheroes, but there is no such thing. He's human.
I refuse to believe that Nate Washington is not a superhero. At NWash85 is where you can follow him. He's the best. He's laugh out loud funny on social media. You should follow him on Twitter. You should follow him on the gram. Buddy, I appreciate you taking some time on this Monday.
But, man, anytime you need me, man, I love talking to you, buddy.
All right, well, careful, because I'll take you up on that. You know I have your number. Now you're not safe.
Holler at me, Buck, anytime, bro.
I'll see you. Nate Washington there with us on 104.5. This is a bad job out of me. Why don't we have Nate on more? Nate's great. Oh, goodness. There's no such thing as superheroes. That's the analysis. That make you feel better? I don't know. I don't know if this is going to make you feel better either. Darrington up next on 104.5 The Zone. Hello.
What's going on, Bud Betty? Yo.
Talk to me.
I'm tired of all these excuses. And there was a guy that I seen on Twitter yesterday, part of the national media that I consider, and he made a comparison that said, boy, the GOAT quarterback without his top three receivers kind of looks like Ryan Tannehill. Now, I don't know what national media person tweeted this last night from the account with Buck Reising's name on it. I don't know who tweeted that. But I also remember a quarterback named Aaron Rodgers who went to Arizona without his top three receivers and won a game. But I'm not going to make no apples to oranges. Yeah, it's neither here nor there. Can we just come to the realization that I was right all season?
No.
He's not what he is. The team, listen, okay, let's call it what it is. The team's hurt. What can you do with a hurt team?
Nothing.
Now, I got dogs for my Seahawks being what they are. The last time I checked, my Seahawks are in the hunt right now. We're making a move. The West is falling apart. Arizona is not who they thought they were. You want to go ahead and crown them? Go crown them then. And R.I.P. Denny Green. But let's just call it what it is, man. The Titans are struggling, and I want to say that James Robinson, it's his fault. Because has anybody seen what Josh Reynolds is doing in Detroit right now?
Oh, you mean John Robinson, not James Robinson.
Hey, does he even deserve to get his name called correctly right
now? Oh,
Darrington. All right, I'm out. I'm out. I'm just saying, but just look at what's happening right now.
Get out of here. There was a point, Lucas, we looked up at the scoreboard. They do it at Nissan Stadium too. We looked up to see, they just had statistics up from that day's games. And there was a point in time. I don't know if he finished this way, but Josh Reynolds in a win over the Arizona Cardinals was at one point yesterday the leading wide receiver in the NFL.
They put it on the Cardinals. That was a rout.
I watched that. I was just curious because I got back to the hotel after primetime last night, and the highlights, the 30-minute condensed version was already up on Game Pass. So I watched that game. Man, they handled him. And honestly, the defense for Arizona has been one of the best things. I don't have to tell you that. You saw what they did against the Titans in Week 1. But Jared Goff just torched them. It was so bizarre. NFL's weird, man. You got Tom Brady putting up 0 points for the first time in the better part of 2 decades. You got the Titans losing to the Steelers, and you've got whatever the hell that was between Detroit and Arizona yesterday. Jesse in Nashville is up next on 104.5 The Zone. Hello, Jesse.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great.
So I'm just calling in because, like as you mentioned, you see last night's game. That's the best quarterback that's ever played the game of football, and he's without his top three receivers, and he can't even put up a point. And so everyone's dogging on Tannehill. But, I mean, you look and you see when you're without your best weapons, I mean, it's the hardest thing in the NFL to win games. And they didn't pay Tannehill to be this all-star quarterback. I mean, the Titans are an old-school team. They're going to win with good defense and running the football. And, yeah, they paid Tannehill, but that's just not what they're built on. And then especially when you're down your three best weapons, I mean, it's just going to be tough to win.
Thanks for the call, Jesse. I mean, yeah, that's what it comes back to. And it can be as simple as that, right? I mean, we played that audio for you of Ryan Tannehill talking yesterday about that's the first botch snap that him and Ben Jones have ever had together. It's just one of those things. What you got?
I mean, we've heard the two different threads. It's either Ryan Tannehill has taken a massive step back in 2021, or how could Ryan Tannehill possibly have success with who he's surrounded by? Can it not be somewhere in the middle? Can he not have regressed a little bit from 2020?
He's regressed because of what's around him. Is that not the analysis? Right? Oh, phone calls, Lucas. Back to the shadows. I mean, yeah, both things can be so, but I think that there is I'm gonna butcher the saying is like causation. I'm not gonna do it correctly. Regardless, like there is a reason why Ryan Tannehill has regressed, because what else is around him has also regressed. The running game, even though, honestly, the running game has been good enough at 135, north of 135 yards per game without Derrick Henry in these last 6 weeks. They've been good enough. No, it's been longer than 6 weeks since Derrick's been gone. Regardless, 135 yards per game in games without Derrick Henry since week 9. For the wide receiving core, AJ played all of last year, almost. I mean, he missed a couple of games early, but played the vast majority of last year on two bad knees, right? Had a couple of knee scopes in the offseason, but he played. AJ hadn't played much this season. Corey Davis played. Julio's not playing much this season. Roger Saffold played. And Roger has been trying to play. I mean, bless his heart. He probably shouldn't be playing as much to this point as he has, but he has been out there enough playing through injury, and then yesterday it got bad enough where they had to shut him down on Friday. It's just not good enough right now. Jerry in White Bluff is next. What's up, Jerry? Hey, Jerry. Oh, your phone line is just wretched, Jerry. You'll have to try and call us back. Appreciate the effort, though. When we come back, I am going to talk about this Memphis and Tennessee debacle at Bridgestone Arena, because I think it was botched on multiple fronts, and the quotes from Rick Barnes right now. We'll get back to Titan stuff later. I got a whole bunch of stuff on Julio in the noon hour, and your phone calls as well. But when we come back, I'm going to tell you who's most to blame for what happened in Nashville on Saturday with the fact that Memphis and Tennessee, they didn't play. That's next. I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Okay, let's take a breather for a second, shall we? Maybe not much of a breather. In fact, if you're talking about Memphis basketball, maybe don't breathe too close at all. What a mess. We were in the air on Saturday. We'll get back to the Titans conversation here in just a second. Buck Reising here with you until 1 o'clock. Lucas Panzica making it all happen. We're going to get a full download of what Lucas's day was like on Saturday because he was actually supposed to be at this game, the game that was supposed to be played at Bridgestone Arena between the University of Tennessee and the Memphis Tigers. That game was not played, if you are unaware, and I did not find out about this until after my plane to Pittsburgh had landed on Saturday morning, that about an hour before tip-off, there has already been Vols fans. Hell, I think Brent Doherty was already in the arena, and I'm sure Brent will talk about this more at length. Brent took his boys, I think, to go watch the Vols play.
I was supposed to sit next to Brent. We had seats in the same spot.
Well, why were you late? You could have watched the scrimmage that was held.
Well, yeah, I live 10 minutes from Bridgestone. No reason to get up any earlier than we needed to.
Okay. So all of this goes down. So what exactly goes down, you ask, if you are unaware? Well, the announcement was made about an hour before tip-off that COVID-19 issues within the Memphis program forced the game to be called off. Now, of course, social media handled this. What does Lebowski say to us?
We will handle it with maturity.
Twitter did not. Twitter did not handle it with maturity. Nor did, frankly, the Memphis basketball team, because they took to Twitter after this game was called off because they were being blamed. And, turns out rightfully so because of the rate of, and listen, we've talked about enough about COVID and how it impacts sports, and it's entirely your choice to get vaccinated. If you so choose, whether you do so and it impacts your life in a negative way, also your choice. Things like this have happened to the Memphis basketball program. Yes? Like Memphis is being held, and listen, with Omicron, it turns out that we may, I don't know how long this is going to keep going. It's going to drive me insane. All I know is I'm going to get my booster on Thursday and hope to God that this one holds up against whatever new variant pops up. But for the Memphis basketball team, they had 2 positive tests, a whole mess of close contacts, and somehow they only found out about this an hour before. Stop it. You knew well in advance, if you were doing the testing in any kind of responsible way, that you had not just 2 positive tests, but that you had a massive close contact situation. So, Lucas, walk me through the day. How did you find out? Because you had planned to go to this game. Hell, basically our whole radio station but me was going to be at this game because I was in Pittsburgh. I would have loved to go. Do you know how mad I would have been if I changed my flight to go to this game and Penny and his basketball team would have done something wildly or irresponsible that would have prevented me from watching good college basketball? I'd have lost it. What happened to you?
Full disclosure, I was still in bed when it was announced that the game was canceled an hour before tip. But,
fraud.
Going through motions in my mind.
Wait. You were as outraged on social media as any of them. You were in bed?
Of course I was outraged. I wanted to go. I was.
You hadn't gotten out of bed yet. I called Madison Blevins from Pittsburgh, from our buddy from WBIR, because she's up here reporting. They had to drive back to Knoxville after the game got called.
A lot of people did.
A lot of people.
Thousands of people.
I almost cussed into the microphone. Since your fake outrage no longer matters, okay, walk us through your day, and then we'll hear from Rick Barnes.
Well, look, I was having the conversation with myself. It's time to get up. You got to get out of bed. You guys are going to a game that starts in an hour. Thankfully, I live 10 minutes from Bridgestone Arena. But I'm just doing my Twitter scroll, spreading way too long before I get out of bed. And I just scroll by it, the Memphis basketball Twitter account. Due to, paraphrasing, COVID within the Memphis basketball program, the game has been canceled. And I scrolled right by it, did kind of a double take, like, wait. Scrolled back down and then go back to the top. And that's where the meltdown began on social media. My buddy showed up as I'm reading that, and I'm rolling out of bed. He walks into the place, and my other friend says, hey, game got canceled. He goes, ha, good one. Totally brushed it off. Had no idea. We're serious. The game is canceled.
I love that.
Almost exactly 60 minutes before tip-off, this game got canceled, and then it just starts to come through on social media. People talking about Memphis was scared. They didn't want to play Tennessee. You've got Memphis congressmen taking pictures with Memphis basketball players.
How small is that Memphis congressman,
Tiny,
by the way? He
tiny.
is a tiny human being.
And I know Memphis basketball has a lot of length, a lot of big players, but
still,
tiny
a
human
diminutive human being.
But you've got Memphis Gary Cohen, I think his name, talking about Tennessee was scared to play Memphis when Tennessee was literally on the floor doing shoot-around when the game was canceled, decided to stick around and play a scrimmage anyway. But Memphis players kind of out and about taking pictures with fans in the hotel lobby, in the parking lot. It was all just a big mess of how did we get here? What are we missing here? That an hour before tip, one program can say, oh, sorry, we're out. We can't make it with no repercussions. And it's due to COVID, due to contact tracing and all of that. But you've still got Memphis players out and about taking pictures with fans before they get on the bus back home. There's just so many things here that are like, okay, how are we this far into the pandemic, since the start of the pandemic, that we can't have a situation like this figured out as far as following the protocols and going through the proper channels to cancel or postpone or whatever it might be a game due to COVID?
They cannot reschedule this game.
No.
They should not reschedule this game.
Why would anybody... Okay, Memphis doesn't have this game. They need to find another quality non-conference opponent because their resume is not that great. They have the Bama win.
Yep.
That's a nice win. They got a lot of work to do. The AAC is not very good. What program wants to play Memphis? What program will say, oh, no, half your team's unvaccinated and you can cancel the game at any moment before tip-off? No, why would we do that?
Can we hear from Rick Barnes? Because Rick Barnes is going, scorched earth is probably too strong because Rick Barnes' tone never really connotes scorched earth, but he's not pulling any punches.
Going from this point forward about do you play the game or not, we were there to play the game, okay? And but with that said, right now SEC play is way too important for us going forward. Plus we have the number one net ranking team coming in here in 2 days. But we're not going to risk scheduling a team we know that has many unvaccinated players. That would be irresponsible on our part. It could happen again. Burning approximately $30,000 from our budget. But to me, obviously we don't want to do that. But the worst part of that is our fans. And I feel as bad as I feel for our players, I feel worse for our fans. We've got of our players at 15.
Rick Barnes there. He goes on to say that they spent about $30,000 of their budget to come up to Nashville and hold a scrimmage. And by the way, I heard that Bridgestone Arena, and once Lucas gets off the phone with people calling in about this, 615-737-1045, I'll ask him because I don't want to be irresponsible about this and what Bridgestone was or was not allowing people to do as far as watching the scrimmage was concerned. But Lucas, correct me if I'm wrong. Was Bridgestone not allowing people who had not already gotten into the arena to come in and watch the scrimmage?
Yeah, they were turning people away. There was a select amount of fans that were already there and pretty much watched it play out, and players and coaches are taking pictures with fans and whatnot.
Help me understand. What was the justification?
COVID protocols.
Stop.
Nope.
With people already in the building?
People were already in the building. They were playing a scrimmage, and they were turning people away at the doors. They were not letting anybody new. And, Tennessee's basketball's Twitter account puts out there, fans still come
watch the scrimmage.
And then they had to basically put out almost an apology tweet. When we sent this tweet, we were not aware that Bridgestone was not letting anybody else into the building.
Oh, my God.
It was all a disaster. You're talking about people that spent money on hotels in Nashville, which we know is not cheap, traveled hours to watch this game, bought tickets, the whole 9 yards to get turned away an hour before tip. This stuff cannot happen. This is stuff that cannot happen a year and a half since the start of the pandemic.
It's a really, really bad. That's a terrible job at it. The whole thing is Memphis's fault. Let's be clear and obvious about this. But that's a horrendous job by Bridgestone. You have to. Endless. I understand that everybody is terrified in a corporate setting of being sued for something pandemic related happening in your place. I get it, but you were preparing to have how many people in Bridgestone Arena? You've had how many people in Bridgestone Arena for Preds games, and this COVID protocol is going to be the justification for keeping half as many people, maybe a quarter, who are going to come in and just watch the Vols have a basketball game. Man, come on. It's not Wednesday yet. I can't make that. I've already done it as the dumbest thing in sports. I'll find another one for Wednesday.
It's my dumbest thing in sports.
Oh, my God.
I have more.
Where is Chris Russo? Say that to me.
Say that to me. Say that to anybody. Say it to somebody.
I dare you. God, I'm starting to sound like him. Every time I watch one of these terrible slog it out Titans games, I'm starting to lose my breath like that when I'm screaming about turnovers. I'm worried about my longevity. I don't want to turn into Mad Dog Russo where I'm just shouting things. Say it to me. Say it to anybody. Say it to somebody. I love it when he runs out of gas at the end. All right. When we come back, the biggest issue that was not the game itself yesterday for the Tennessee Titans, Julio Jones. We're going to talk about it. I want to know if you think this is the last time that you've seen Julio Jones play in a game for the Titans. I'm not saying that I do. I'm curious to know how the audience feels about the Julio Jones situation after playing a half of football yesterday. We'll talk about A.J. Brown as well and his viability for the 49ers game because there's new information on that. Your phone calls as well. Jump in if you want to. See, a lot of people want to talk tight. Well, actually, let's squeeze Nick in Nolansville in because he wants to talk about this game really quickly, and then we'll transition to Titans. Hello, Nick.
Hey, how's it going, guys? So I am a Memphian living in Nolansville, and we'll be fine. We have Houston. We have UConn, who's kind of coming on the come up. But if we beat Houston twice in the year, we'll have a decent strength of schedule. So, you know, I heard somebody say, "Oh, they're playing the AAC, so it's going to be terrible or whatever." It will be fine.
That was our EP, Lucas. You can call him an idiot, Nick. It's okay. I give you permission. You can call him an idiot.
Oh, yeah. You're an idiot.
Thank you for the call, Nick. They'll be fine. Will the Titans? Find out next. Final hour already on this Monday. If you're just now joining us, happy to have you until 1 o'clock. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. We've been reacting, of course, to the Titans' loss to the Steelers yesterday, 19-13, Heinz Field. It was Pittsburgh's a cool city. The Heinz Field is a really fun place to see a game, even if that game was as bad as it was aesthetically. But I really enjoyed my trip there, and if the football game itself was not enjoyable. We're talking about a lot of different elements of that football game, though. 615-737-1045, and you can jump in on this conversation. And where I want to start is the biggest conversation other than the loss itself not about Julio Jones today? I don't know what you do with him. I don't know how much longer it's going to last, to be honest with you. And, I feel when we talked about this earlier in the season, while he was on injured reserve, I kind of, put it out there that there's probably one or two big performances left, right? That's about, I don't know how much you can expect from him, but that is probably a reasonable expectation. And then he gets hurt. And on all the plays for him to get hurt on, that Firkser fumble, man, that started the turnover avalanche that they had that ended up being their 13th turnover in 4 games. That Firkser fumble, Julio goes to try and recover, and he comes up limping, and you're just like, damn, again? Again with this. There was a moment in that game, in fact, the first offensive play, we've talked about it, I think, several times today. The first offensive play where Tannehill gets sacked for a loss of 8, that's a Julio Jones touchdown. If Dontrell Hilliard picks up Chris Wormley, beats Aaron Brewer, Dontrell Hilliard's the running back in the backfield. Instead of helping on Wormley and giving Tannehill that extra fraction of a second, Hilliard sneaks out for a pass, and his quarterback gets smoked. And then the conversation around Julio Jones becomes much, much different today. But he gets ruled out. Titans radio reported it first, Amy Wells down there on the sidelines, that Julio Jones would be out for the remainder of the game and that the injury was, again, the hamstring. And, where is the evidence that this is going to get better at this point? It's unfortunate. I was really looking forward to seeing what this would look like. But this was never supposed to be, okay, Julio Jones is going to be Julio Jones in Atlanta. He's just going to do it for the Titans. No, Julio Jones was supposed to amplify A.J. Brown, attract attention from A.J. Brown, and allow other wide receivers, maybe Marcus Johnson, he's done for the year. Maybe, you would have thought Anthony Firkser, but my God, has that gone just the complete wrong direction. All of the things about Julio Jones indicate that this, we may not see a ton of him the rest of the way. And I know they'll take it on a day-by-day basis. Short week, I think, is probably, and it's too early to say, right? But I think on a short week of work, I think the inclination would probably be to rest him if they don't shut him down again. And I don't know that they're going to shut him down again. All I know is that all options for Julio Jones are on the table right now. And I would say to you, how would you evaluate this situation with Julio? 615-737-1045 is how you voice your opinion. 615-737-1045. Let's go to Jaron in Warren County, who's been waiting patiently. Hello, Jaron.
What's up, Buck?
What you got for me, stud?
So I have a couple things. I just wanted to see about the amount of play action passes. That's our game.
Mm-hmm.
And the percentage, when it's over 30%, we win. But when it's under, we lose. So why don't they run it more? And then second is we know how big Vrabel is on ball security.
Mm-hmm.
So what else can he do to practice and make sure that we don't turn the ball over in the games? Appreciate it.
Hey, Jaron, listen, I don't think anything. Honestly, I don't mean to make it sound bleak. I don't mean to. I wish I could offer you a solution. But, you watch their drills at practice, Mike Vrabel has the boxing glove on himself trying to force the fumble.
Yeah.
There's nothing else that Mike can do.
I was going to say more of those drills, I guess.
What was Mike going to do? Swing at them in the head? Say, hang on to the ball, you idiot, or I'm going to knock you out. He's literally got the boxing gloves on in practice, trying to punch the football out during the ball security drills. Vrabel cannot do anything else. Mike has to be, going insane about this. He was better than I thought he was going to be in our post-game press conference with him. He was certainly short, but what else is he supposed to say? Yeah, we had 4 turnovers. We lost. We were down 6. We had 4 turnovers. We had the opportunity to drive down the field, and then we botched it again. Turnovers. What else do you want me to say? I can't say it anymore to you. I can't say it anymore to them. Stop turning the ball over. It wasn't quite that emphatic. It was more like, grunts and snorts and, turnovers and penalties and blah, 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 blah. But the same is true. The same is true. Let's go to Mahogany. It's my favorite name in Nashville. What's going on, Mahogany?
What's up, Buck? How you doing this morning?
I'm better now. What you got?
Hey, man. So while I was sitting here waiting to get on, I've just been thinking, and I've got a little bit more solace even in this loss that as bad as we looked with the turnovers and everything like that, we were still competitive, and we were still in that game with a chance to win it on the last drive.
Sure.
So I can take some comfort in that. And I also want to kind of comment as far as people talking and dogging Tannehill. While Tannehill has some blame to this, he's holding on to the ball a little bit too long in some cases, and with the turnovers. What is he supposed to do with the cast of characters that he has? Like, we watched Tom Brady last night with Fournette, Godwin, and Evans out look just as pedestrian as anyone else playing quarterback. So I have a little bit more, comfort at the quarterback position, but I'm just confused as to what else we could do as far as playing people with the wide receiver position, because we have nothing else. And Golden Tate's not going to solve anything, people. I'm sorry to tell you this. He's not. I'll hang up and listen.
Thank you much. Appreciate it, Mahogany. 615-737-1045. The phone lines are off and rolling. A lot of people want to weigh in on this. Here's what I'll say about Tannehill, and then we'll get into the Julio stuff in more detail, okay? Ryan Tannehill is going to be your quarterback. You're not getting rid of him next season. You shouldn't want to get rid of him next season. And if you do, I would politely and respectfully tell you to get a grip. In what world do you think there's a better option out there at quarterback? Have you seen this year's draft class? Are you so desperate for Kenny Pickett? Are you going to try and fool yourself into thinking that the Titans should make a run at Aaron Rodgers because Ryan Tannehill isn't good enough? Stop it. Control yourself. Understand what is happening around that quarterback. I'm not saying he's Rodgers. I don't think he's Brady. And I think both of those guys would struggle almost as much as he is if they were in a similar circumstance. I watched Tom Brady play the same version of that Tannehill game last night. He got shut out. Tom Brady hasn't been shut out since 2006. Nick Saban was the coach of the Miami Dolphins, and Joey Harrington was quarterbacking them. That's the last time Tom Brady has been held without points. And it's the first time in Brady's career that he's been beaten by a team who didn't score a touchdown. And he struggled mightily. The Saints defense is good, but Tom Brady, without his top skill position players, there was a lot of Tannehill-ish stuff, plus the turnovers, to his game yesterday on Sunday Night Football. We'll get into your reaction about the Julio situation. The lines are loaded. If you want to jump in, we welcome your calls. I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone. What, are you trying to soothe people with this? Slow jams to soothe the sorry Titans fan's soul?
Serenity now on this Monday.
Okay, serenity now. Namaste, says Lucas Panzica. Welcome back. Buck Reising here with you on 104.5 The Zone. It is Reaction Monday, and there's a lot to react to because the Titans have lost a terrible game, a truly terrible game. And of all the terrible things that happened in this truly terrible game, the loss, again, of Julio Jones has to be among, I think that's just the extra kick in the nuts after you've been dealing with all of this stuff. Like, I'm going to make, I don't know how many people, have you seen Loki on Disney Plus? You've seen Loki? So do you think I'm making too inside baseball of a pop culture reference if I make a Loki reference? You know that scene where he's stuck in that purgatory of that woman kneeing him in the groin? Yeah, that's what I feel like. So maybe
that is what has happened to Titans fans this year with injuries.
I'm watching it. I just started it while I was in my hotel room in Pittsburgh, and it's laugh out loud funny so far. But that's what I think of every time I watch Loki getting kneed in the nuts by a woman who is trying to accosting him from some lover's quarrel. That's what I feel like every time I watch the Titans and the Julio Jones experience. When it's only a quarter, it's only a half, and then now you don't know how long he's going to be out or how much time he's going to miss. And I mean, here's the thing though. If the Titans were playing on Sunday, I'd say they're probably going to have A.J. Brown available. I don't think right now, as we sit here on Monday, it doesn't sound like A.J. Brown is trending towards available against the 49ers. We'll keep you updated on that. I'm not saying that's any kind of definitive, but based on the conversation around their football team right now, it seems like A.J. Brown is better, but short week makes that a stretch to get him out there. Now, you may scoff at that and say, what's the difference between Thursday and Sunday? Get out there. Play hurt. Play. Everybody else is. And I would say to you, okay. I mean, just what do you want him to do at this point?
I believe it was Rob Moore talking to media last week, right? On Wednesday, whenever they had assistant coaches available to media that said AJ progressing, doing well, be back in a couple weeks.
He did say a couple weeks. It's the closest thing we've ever gotten of a timeline to his assistant coach, and I'm sure Rob Moore was excoriated by Vrabel behind the scenes.
And Thursday does not count as a couple weeks.
Yeah, Thursday is not a couple of weeks, kids. So I think it would have been a stretch if they'd have played on Sunday anyway. I'm not telling you definitively A.J. Brown's not going to play against the 49ers. This week will tell us a lot. But I do think that it is a long shot for him to be available. And I don't know what to tell you about Julio Jones. Lebowski is up next. Hello, buddy.
It's good to be back on the radio, especially when I don't have a producer hanging up on me. Oh, that's right. Rip a quick little bell for that rip. Look, I just want to throw this out there. There's so many pieces of this team that are frustrating, and I don't know where to start. I mean, the return game, outside of Chester Rogers having a good return yesterday, it is one of the many pieces of this game that makes me want to hold my breath every single time that man has a ball coming his way.
Mm-hmm.
This tight end group, Anthony Ferkser, I'm so over. Fire him into the sun. And what's even more frustrating is this is the tight end group that the team went into the season with and said, here's your boys. Mm-hmm. It's not like we're watching a practice squad group of gentlemen that are out there. This is who the team decided to go into with. But let me pull all that aside and say this about Tannehill. If you're that excited as a fan base to go back into the quarterback search, what the hell's wrong with you? I'm not even going to talk about the Mariota stance. You really want to talk about Mariota? Just go back and watch him throw passes in the dirt from old team footage and enjoy yourself. We're not going to start comparing those two. Do not get overexcited about your team wanting to go back into quarterback search mode because that is the worst possible experience for a team. Tannehill is getting it done when he needs to get it done, but you're exactly right when you said earlier that you're not getting rid of this man this year, you're not getting rid of him next year. There was even a fan on Twitter saying, move him to wide receiver and just let him catch balls to punish him. Oh, yeah, okay, that's an option. Just don't do it. We're not doing this with the quarterback search. It's a terrible take. Leave the man out of it.
Go ahead and give it to him. Give it to him, even though he ripped you on the front end. Shady.
It was fair.
If you think you're not having fun right now, imagine if you didn't have a quarterback. Now, maybe you're sitting there thinking, screaming at your radio, or if you listen to the radio show on podcast after the fact, you're cursing me over your phone while you're working the treadmill or doing your laundry or whatever it is that you do while you listen to this stupid show that we do. And you're saying they don't have a quarterback, 14 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. Ryan Tannehill is terrible this year. And I would say to you, okay, what else you got? Go draft one. Who are you taking? Desmond Ridder? That fix your problems? You don't have a high draft pick. You crazy? Are you going to sacrifice yet more draft capital to trade up for a quarterback who's probably not a long-term franchise solution? No. I don't think that's in the cards. Do you? We haven't, I don't know if Lebowski invoked the name of Marcus Mariota just to see if I would get a call saying that that Marcus Mariota needs to replace Ryan Tannehill, and this come full circle in just this unrelenting seventh circle of hell of Titans quarterback situation. I would say to you, I watched every snap of Marcus Mariota's career 10 times over. All right? It's my job to. He was the quarterback my first year in Nashville. He was I was the last person to talk to him in an emptying locker room in Kansas City in 19 after the Titans lost to the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. All right? That was the guy who I associated with as Titans quarterback, and I will tell you that he is not what he was. Stop it. The idea that there's life even being breathed into that, even if that's grammatically incorrect. Stop it. Your quarterback situation is not resolvable. It's not happening next season. Now, I had somebody text me. I had a buddy of ours text me and say, the Rams got rid of their quarterback once they figured out he was a bum, talking about Jared Goff. Jared Goff is not Ryan Tannehill. Or more importantly, Ryan Tannehill is not Jared Goff, even though Jared Goff won yesterday. Let's go to Ty in Nebraska, the great state of Nebraska. Hello, Ty.
How's it going?
It's going great.
So I just wanted to kind of get your opinion on this. With our tight end play being so bad, from the drops, the fumbles, doesn't even look like they're blocking all too well. They're chip blocking and everything.
They don't.
What about possibly bringing in Delaney Walker?
Oh,
I know he expressed interest on playing and stuff.
Ty, no. No, let him finish the call. Let him finish the call.
Option.
Go ahead, Ty.
That's all I had to say.
Oh, God. Ty, you did not just wait on hold 30 minutes to ask me about Delaney Walker. Man, is that not just the Golden Tate scenario with a different name?
Older.
How old is Delaney right now?
37.
He's 37 years old. Golden Tate is 32. Julio Jones is 32. You want more age? That's older than Adrian Peterson was. And I love Delaney. This is not a personal attack on Delaney. And I wish him all the success in the world as he tries to continue his NFL career. It sounds like he still wants in. More power to him. But God, no. You can't drop Delaney. You would, again, as I said with Golden Tate earlier, and maybe if you weren't listening to the second hour of the show, do not put this evil on Golden Tate or Delaney Walker. Psych yourself up about what they could be because of what their name is, as opposed to what they are as players right now in today's NFL. Stop. Respectfully, Ty. Goodness. Tony is in Nashville. He wants to talk about Julio Jones. Hello, Tony.
Yeah, fellas. I don't blame Julio Jones. I don't hold him at fault at all. Who I hold at fault is Mike Vrabel and John Robinson. You're going to pay a wore-out nerd thoroughbred money and expect thoroughbred performances. If they're foolish enough to give him that money, then he ought to oblige them, because he knows he's at the end of his road. So he needs to pay his retirement fund. My thing of it is they never should have got rid of Corey Davis. Never should have. Him and Brown was growing perfectly together. Then they got rid of the other kid. He's been gone for 2 years. It was number 14. That boy had speed to burn, and he would take the top off of the defense. Matter of fact, I think he caught Tannehill throwed him a long touchdown pass in
Khalif Raymond. Khalif Raymond.
Right. See, these was kids. You build a team with youth up and coming, and those two guys had all kind of upside. You get bread money to a wore-out nag. You get what you get.
Thank you for the call, Tony.
We're playing Titans Lost Bingo today. That's bingo for me. I don't know about you.
I don't think I can sigh harder into the microphone because it's against COVID protocol for me to sigh harder into a microphone that Brent and Mickey and Jason also use.
Well, we've had Golden Tate, right? Where's Golden Tate? We've had Bring Back Delaney Walker.
My head hurts.
Okay. We've had Tannehill is Mariota. We've had should have kept Corey Davis. That's bingo. That's bingo. Get a free space. That's bingo.
That's the bingo they play in hell. Tony, Corey Davis is done for the year, and Khalif Raymond plays for the recently two-win Detroit Lions. Would you rather pay? I mean, and listen. All right, the universe has done what it's done. Okay, Corey Davis is a Jet. Khalif Raymond is a Lion. Julio Jones is a Tennessee Titan. I guess. All right, we have no idea what would have happened. Would Corey have stayed healthy if he was with Tennessee? I don't know. Khalif Raymond, I'm pretty sure, got benched during the 2020 season because he was not running his routes. He was not as good of an asset in the return game as Cam Batson was. And those two spectacular plays that he had during the postseason in 2019, yeah, they were more. Those are the anomalies. Those are like the shooting stars in the career of journeyman Khalif Raymond. So respectfully, Tony, no, come on. It's done. You move forward with the pieces that you have. Financially, if I'd have asked you in June or in, what would that have been? In May, before they made the acquisition of Julio Jones, would you rather have Julio Jones or Corey Davis? You would have emphatically told me, Tony, I'm certain of it, that you would have preferred to have, for the money, $12.5 million for both of them a year, average annual salary. You would have preferred to have Julio Jones for that price point than Corey Davis. And if you don't feel that way, I mean, what? Come on. I got to stop sighing. Michael in White House is next. I feel like the Popeyes chicken sandwich worker slumped over the bench. Maybe Michael will save us. What's up, Michael?
Hey, bud. Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Hey, before I get damn.
Uh-oh.
I'm driving. Sorry, guys.
It's okay.
Yeah, my bad. Before I get to my biggest takeaway, I'm tired of the Tannehill talk. I'm happy that we have him as a quarterback. Whether it be practice squad guys that are on the field or our starters, if the people around him do what they're supposed to do, he's going to win. He has the opportunity to win every game. He's not going to put the whole team on his back and win us every game. That's obvious. But like our defense gave us a chance to win the game. We turned the ball over too much. That's what lost us the game. And those calls against Christian Fulton, some of them I was scratching my head, man.
So bad.
Like I feel like, and this coincides with my biggest takeaway from that game. I feel like if a player gets hurt, and it looks bad, like that influences, a flag or a penalty. I as much as I like their tight end, Freiermuth, their rookie tight end, I'm not sure. Obviously, I'm not sure that was a flag. You know what I mean? But so that fourth down play within 2 minutes, the last play of the game, they gave us a horrible spot. That was not a first down. They gave us enough for the first down where they spotted the ball, but they talked, they huddled up, they said that. They made the call that it wasn't a first down on the field. That was the most mad I was about that game. I was at the game in Pittsburgh. I drove there and came back and got back midnight last night.
Oh my God, Michael!
But yeah, I'm at work right now too, so this is a good time. But no, it made me so mad. They gave you could see where the marker was. They gave him the first down. Like it was a horrible spot, but they gave him the first down. go to the replay and correct your call that way. I mean, you see it all, like in all NFL games. They'll make these calls and they'll be influenced by whether the fans or the players, and they'll overturn it before it has a chance, to be disputed or I don't know, reviewed. And that's pretty much it. I'm tired of the NFL referees having so much influence, and when they make bad calls, they're not really held accountable, and there's really no repercussions from what we see as fans.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Michael, and get some rest after you get home from work. That's the first thing I'm doing. Well, I've got some work I have to do, and then I'm going to take a nap because I'm tired too. But I don't have a real job. Michael sounds like he has a real job, even though he's calling us in the middle of the day. Questionable. Kevin Byard. I asked Kevin Byard, we played this clip for you in the first hour, but obviously some of you don't listen to all 3 hours. That's okay. We still love you. I asked Kevin Byard last night in Pittsburgh what he thought of the officiating. KB, your thoughts?
I think the majority, I don't know if I'll get fond of it, but I think the majority of the calls in this game was complete BS. I think the pass interference on Buster, I think he was turning around playing the ball. They were just hand fighting. I think even the hit on Christian, I don't think it was a dirty play. I think he was trying to make a play on the ball and just lost the ball out. Unfortunately, the guy got hurt. And also the pass interference in the end zone. So the one drive, fueled by penalties, they got a touchdown. But the rest of the game, I really felt like the defense was flying around, playing with speed. So I told all the guys when it was QB kneeling, I'm really proud of the effort the defense played with today.
Yeah. Kevin, you're getting fined. We asked Vrabel a couple of questions last night. He's already spoken. Normally we'd play that press conference for you in the noon hour, but because short week, they went right back to it, and Mike talked at 10 a.m. today. And if you miss any of the show, obviously we have it podcasted for you. The refs on that touchdown drive for Pittsburgh specifically, that was really, really poorly called. And I had some people screaming at me on social media. Before we get, well, let me get a phone call in, and then we'll let people hear from Big Jeff, because I asked Jeff about well, no, I didn't ask him. Somebody else asked him about the penalty against him last night, the roughing the passer call, and I want people to hear his explanation as well. But let's go to Eli, who's in Murfreesboro. He's been waiting for a while. Hello, Eli.
Yeah, hey, Buck. How you doing today, man?
I'm great, buddy.
That's good to hear. I just wanted to say that everybody just needs to take a big old breath, man. We're still the third seed in the AFC, even though the team's been a disaster. We can still clinch the 1 seed just by the Patriots and the Chiefs losing, man. It's not that unforeseeable.
No, you're spot on. I mean, listen, you had the opportunity to get back in the driver's seat. Didn't Eli? What a great call. Wasn't that just soothing? It felt like Cheech, if Cheech and Chong was telling me it's going to be all right, man. Appreciate that, Eli. Like I said earlier, the sky is not falling. Well, the sky is falling a little bit, but not completely and totally. But there are some reasons to think that the Titans ultimately they have to play a perfect game, it feels like, to be able to get these wins. And when the margin for error is so thin and you have a penalty like you did on Big Jeff for the roughing the passer that people freaked out about, I saw people screaming on social media. I think our buddy V-Love tweeted me that it was a horse bleep take, my opinion that I had about the call against Big Jeff being the correct call, even if the rule is garbage. But listen to the way that it was explained to Jeffrey after the game. We asked him about it last night in the postgame.
I mean, they told me it was a weight force that went into his ankle. Talked to Vrabel, talked to the ref in that situation. Even though I'm getting pushed or I'm falling to the ground, just swipe at his ankles or whatever it may be to avoid all the body weight into his lower body.
These are the kind of games that hurt maybe the most, and you'll lead most of the game, play well on defense, and maybe just lost because of your own mistakes.
Yeah, it's always, especially in December, you can't beat yourself. And Coach Vrabel said, offense, we had a couple turnovers, but at the same time, defense went out there. Like I said, we keep putting the fire, and I think that's just a mindset. Sometimes things don't happen not always good on the offensive side of the ball, and that's our job as defense, to go out there and keep putting out the fire. So, like I said, of course we didn't get the turnout we wanted, but we got to flush it quick because we got another quick game coming up.
That's Big Jeff last night. Our job is to put out the fires. God love you, big fella. You tried yesterday. All right. We will wrap up the show. There's been some breaking news in college football quickly. Nothing crazy. Although we didn't talk about this Jeff Fisher story. I saw Mike Organ of the Tennessean reported that Jeff Fisher is potentially interested in the opening at ETSU. I mean, okay. Duke, though, is set to hire Rutgers defensive coordinator Rob Smith. So David Cutcliffe is being replaced by the Rutgers DC. We'll wrap up the show. We'll maybe squeeze a few more calls in, and we'll do some polls before we get you out of here on this Monday and over to Blaine and Mickey. I'm Buck Reising. I forgot my name for a second. It's 104.5 The Zone. That Let's wrap it up. Been a good show. I think we've had productive conversations. If nothing else, maybe it's been therapeutic for you. I hope so. We've had fun today. Get a couple more in here before we wrap things up, and we'll do some polls, as is the custom. Let's go to Jack in Nashville on 104.5 The Zone. Hello, Jack.
What do you say, my friend?
Not much. What you got?
Well, man, I'm just tired of people ragging Tannehill. I mean, we're fortunate to have that kid in there, dude. That kid is playing his butt off. He played his butt off yesterday. If we'd have hung on to the goddamn football, we would have won that game. We had a lot of deficiencies in our horrible tackling, Buck. Horrible. I counted 30 missed tackles just that wasn't even the whole game. That tight end ran over our butts. That last big reception in the fourth quarter. I mean, and that's tackling. They're trying to tackle that boy high. They need to learn to tie up his feet. I'm a trainer. I'm a coach. I've coached football, rugby, you name it. That's just this poor technique. And this poor technique, that first major fumble that we had, the receiver caught the ball and he immediately tucks it into his right elbow. That's dumb. You get hold of the ball, you hold it with both hands for the first 2 or 3 steps till you feel the pressure around you and feel where you're going to get hit. He just tucks it right into his right elbow and it gets popped. The guy punches it out.
Thanks for the call, Jack. Yeah, I mean, listen, there was a lot of things fundamentally that went wrong yesterday. They, from, little things, right? Like Racey McMath as the gunner on the first Titans punt, where he's screaming down the field, and you think he's got that. I can't remember who the returner was, but he had the returner dead to rights and just whiffs, turned into a massive field one. And there wasn't a lot that could help Ben yesterday, but they tried their damnedest, that defense and that special teams group, to help Ben Roethlisberger take advantage of short fields. And they punted 4 straight times. I just saw. I'm gonna butcher her last name. I don't want to be disrespectful to Aditi. I know that's how you pronounce her first name, but she was a reporter for the NFL Network. You want some perspective on how utterly amazing the Steelers' win over the Titans was yesterday, she tweets. It was the first time since at least 1940 that an NFL team amassed less than 170 total yards, less than 35 rush yards, and gave up over 200 rush yards and still won. That is disgusting. That is not amazing, Aditi. I too, Caleb Farley, who I don't know where you are, but they sure could use you. They could use anybody at this point. Somebody, anybody. Polls.
Stop the count. Stop the count. The polls have closed and the votes have been tallied. Now, here's your favorite Buck Reising Show correspondent, Lucas Polzika.
Can this version of the Tennessee Titans that we saw on Sunday get better? 66% say yes, 34% say no.
Sure, just hang on to the damn ball. Just stop it.
What's the most frustrating part about the last 4 games, Ryan? Tannehill, the turnovers, injuries, or play calling? The vast majority, 75%, give it to the turnovers. 11% put it on injuries, 9% on Tannehill, only 5% on play calling.
Yeah, I'm going to watch the TV copy later, and I'll have access to Game Pass, I'm sure, by the end of the day, to watch some coaches' film on it. Todd Downing was getting a lot of smoke from people in the on the A to Z Sports primetime show that I did from Heinz Field last night, and I didn't really understand why. Like, it was totally explainable to me that he would be thrown out of rhythm, just like the rest of the offense was thrown out of rhythm when everything went to hell.
Is that the last we see of Julio Jones? 70% believe it is.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. All I'm saying is I feel like most people would just be content to let go and let God at this point, even as ridiculous as that sounds.
Should Tennessee reschedule the Memphis game? 59% say no, 41% say yes.
Well, 41% want to see that game played, and I understand. But if I'm Rick Barnes, I'm telling Penny to kick rocks.
Justin says no, and I'm one of the ones that went. Should not return Memphis's calls until Penny inevitably gets fired in a couple years.
Oh, Lucas played for me some Penny audio during one of the commercial breaks. We're going to play it for you Wednesday during the dumbest thing in sports. But my God, his lack of institutional knowledge about his own basketball program, it's frightening.
Those are the polls.
Those are the polls. Very good. That's the show. It was a fun one. Check out the podcast. We're going to do it again tomorrow at 10 a.m. Central Time. I got you tonight on A to Z Primetime at some point between the two Monday Night Football games, one postponed, one regularly scheduled. So we'll talk about the latest in the Titans and how they need to adapt on a short week. Enjoyed it? You guys will continue to enjoy live and local sports talk right here on 104.5 The Zone because Blaine and Mickey, followed by 3HL, they are up next.